So if you're like me and you decided to build your first serious sim racing setup, or you just reached the point where your current rig is starting to hold back your consistency, or you're just in the market looking for an upgrade, this is going to be a great video for you. I decided to go with the Trak Racer. Specifically, I went with the TR8 Pro V2. I built this thing, I've raced on it, and I dialed in all the various settings and adjustments. So it's set up exactly for me and my racing style. In this video, we're just going to be breaking down the rig. What are the pros? What are the cons? Who I think this rig is for. And we're going to be focusing on really three main things that I think matter the most when it comes to your sim racing, your sim rig, which is stability, consistency, and confidence on track. So just to provide some context here, I came from a Playseat challenge with the Logitech G923. Honestly, it's one of the best entry-level setups I think that you could buy. It's affordable, it's compact, it's the perfect way to get into sim racing. But as I started pushing harder with longer sessions, craving stronger force feedback, and just more competitive racing overall, I started noticing limitations that weren't just about my driving skill anymore. It was small things. It was flex under braking, movement in the wheel, subtle posture changes mid-race, and those tiny inconsistencies add up. And so once you start chasing precision, that variability really starts to become the enemy. And so this upgrade wasn't about comfort. As good as I think the rig looks, it also wasn't about aesthetics. It was about removing those variables so that my performance could ultimately improve. So the TR8 Pro takes a very different approach compared to most sim rigs. Instead of that kind of square aluminum profile that you often see, it uses a curved high-grade steel chassis built from 51 millimeter, about 2-inch tubular steel. And so the goal here isn't modularity like those square rigs. The goal is structural rigidity. It has a very solid framework. There's no side wheel supports. The wheel is directly bolted onto the frame. There's nothing obstructing your legs. It also has a very wide 580 millimeter stance. It's about 2 feet stance for stability. Everything is just designed to eliminate flex at the source. And it's also built to handle basically any modern sim racing hardware, whether that's direct drive or belt drive wheels, all major pedal sets, shifters, handbrakes. It's also set up to handle both a PC or a console setup. So it's just a universal performance platform. So let's jump into the build experience now. Building the TR8 Pro is fairly straightforward, but it's definitely not a lightweight rig by any means. The components are heavy, and once everything is bolted down together, it feels very unified, not like it was assembled or kind of pieced together. I think Trak Racer did a really great job with their packaging. Most of the hardware is already in place, so you're mainly just loosening and tightening certain bolts to assemble the rig. I was able to build it solo, but I strongly recommend a second set of hands for some of the steps. And I also recommend to build it exactly where you want it to live. Because once this thing is assembled, especially if you have a non-slip floor protector like I do, it's very planted, and so moving it after that is going to be a chore. So I went with the Trak Racer GT seat for my build. Visually, it looks like it's straight out of a GT car, which I love. It's aggressive bolstering, clean stitching, very motorsport inspired seat. And functionally, it does what a proper seat should do. It holds you in place during intense cornering or braking. For longer sessions, I did end up adding a kind of small lumbar cushion that I got off of Amazon. Not because the seat is necessarily uncomfortable, it's just more was a personal posture and comfort thing for me. I noticed myself hunching slightly over time, those kind of longer driving sessions. And so that added lumbar support just helped keep everything aligned. I noticed that posture consistency was directly affecting my driving consistency. One of the biggest strengths of the TR8 Pro is its adjustability. And this matters a lot more, I think, than most people realize. Everything on the TR8 Pro can be adjusted. The seat itself slides forward and back just like a real car. The seat angle can also be adjusted. The wheel mount uses Trak Racer's patented 3-point adjustment system where you could change the height, distance, as well as the angle. The pedal mount is reinforced steel, fully adjustable for angle and distance. So you could dial in more of the GT style position or the F1 style and everything in between, which is a really great feature. Even the monitor mount moves forward and back and vertically. Everything can just be dialed in precisely to your body. And coming from that Playseat challenge, this has been a night and day difference. When the Playseat adjustments were limited and honestly they were a chore, here you build this driving position once, you lock it in, and it stays consistent. And that consistency is really where your performance comes from. I went with the optional integrated single monitor mount for my build. It supports displays up to 70 inches and uses standard VESA mounting. From a design standpoint, it's excellent. I did have to buy a separate VESA mount extender from Amazon to better fit my curved screen, but other than that, it was great. Everything is clean, it's integrated into one structure, and for casual driving, it's completely solid. But when I'm pushing harder, I do notice some monitor shake. It's not a deal breaker, but for high intensity racing, I'll likely move to kind of more freestanding mount to isolate the display completely. All right, so let's talk about the driving experience, which, right, really most important thing here. On track, the biggest difference is confidence. The pedal deck does not move, the wheel does not shift, your body position stays fixed. And that stability removes compensation. And when you stop compensating, you start driving with intention. And that's where your lap times come from. I've 100% noticed more consistent and faster lap times since switching from the Playseat to the TR8 Pro. All right, so to wrap this one up, for me, this rig represents a shift. It's a shift from casual sim racing to more serious, intentional development of my racecraft. It's not about complexity, right? It's about building a solid foundation with this rig where my skill can compound. And so this is just the first piece of my 2026 sim rig, and every component that you see on the rig will get its own dedicated breakdown. If that mindset resonates with you, welcome to BZ Racing. I'll see you on track.